All right, so let's talk about this. So, Dallas Mavericks, Minnesota Timberwolves, Western Conference Finals game one. This is Dallas's second conference finals in 3 years, and this is Minnesota's first conference finals in about 20 years. And it kind of feels like yesterday because I remember that team that went to the Western Conference Finals with Kevin Garnett, Wiley Zerbiak, Sam Cassell, Latrell Sprewell, and Flip Saunders as the coach. They ended up, losing in 6 games to the Lakers. So, shout out to the Minnesota Timberwolves for getting to the conference finals in about 20 years. But let's talk about this game right here. So, one thing that stuck out to me the most was Minnesota taking 49 threes. And it was a little bit surprising because Boston Celtics is the number one team in terms of 3-point attempts, and they don't even take 49 threes. But I think it was by design because Dallas deployed the same strategy that they use against the Thunder, which is pack the paint and force these guys to shoot outside threes. And Jaden McDaniels took 9 threes. Karl Anthony Towns took 9 threes. Anthony Edwards took 12 of them. Mike Conley took 6 of them. But um, Jaden McDaniels made a good amount of his threes. He made 6 threes out of 9. Karl Anthony Towns did struggle from the three, so he was only 2 for 9 from the field. I mean, from the three. Anthony Edwards made 5 of them, 41% from the three. And Naz Reid, Nickeil Alexander Walker, and Kyle Anderson they took some threes coming off the bench. But let's talk about what Minnesota did in that first quarter. And like I said, with Dallas playing drop coverage, it made Minnesota's job easier in terms of shooting threes. Jaden McDaniels hit like 3 threes in the first quarter alone, and that was because they were playing drop on him, and that kind of like got him going. Now I think Jaden McDaniels let the Timberwolves in scoring. He finished away with I think 24 points. Karl Anthony Towns had 16. Rudy Gobert had 12. Anthony Edwards had 19, and Mike Conley only had 6. Uh, but shout out to Anthony Edwards for taking the challenge of guarding Kyrie Irving. He said in the postgame interview after the Denver Nuggets series that he was going to take that Kyrie challenge. And shout out to him. He did make it difficult for Kyrie, but Kyrie being Kyrie, we already knew he was gonna go off at some point in these playoffs because he didn't really have a good series against the Thunder. But in this game right here, in the first half, Kyrie was absolutely cooking, and he didn't make any threes, but he got to the free throw line like 2 times, and then he would just get into the lane and mid range jumper or get to the basket, reorganize the mid fly and finish with the other hand. He was making some ridiculous finishes around the basket over 2 or 3 defenders, and it made Anthony Edwards' job a lot difficult because he had to cover Kyrie and then he had to produce at a high level on the other side of the floor, which really hurt the Minnesota Timberwolves because you could tell at the start of the fourth quarter that he was a little bit gassed, he was a little bit exhausted. You could tell, but I hear people saying that he just came off a game 7, so that's why he was gassed. But I'm not really buying that excuse because Game 7 was on Sunday, and this game was on Wednesday night, so he had 3 days in between to rest. But and him being young, he shouldn't be getting gassed as quickly as that. But covering Kyrie Irving, that's not no easy task. And they did take him off Kyrie in certain possessions, in certain spurts, and put Jaden McDaniels on him. But Kyrie Irving was hot at that point, so I don't think anything could have stopped him from cooking. Kyrie finished the first half with 24 points, and I think Luka chipped in with 14. And Dallas as a team, they did struggle from the 3-point line. I think Dallas as a team, they only made 6 threes out of 25, so they were really struggling from the 3-point line. It was at the beginning of the fourth quarter. That's when Luka hit 3 threes in that fourth, and he hit a dagger three that kind of like sealed the deal for the Mavericks. But Kyle Anderson came in, and he had a stretch there. They were playing drop on him. Luca was covering him, and he was playing drop on him, forcing him to take shots. And I think that was because he didn't really have a good series against the Denver Nuggets. So the strategy there was to play drop on him, just force him, give him any shot. And he went on a 7-0 run by himself, coming off the bench. Nasri came off the bench, finished with 15 points, but he was having the time of his life in that first quarter. He had a play where he had a tough take to the basket. He finished through contact. He didn't get the and one, but on the other side he got a steal and passed it off to Anthony Edwards. and then Anthony Edwards took that three, and that was a stretch from Naz Reid. Shout out to Naz Reid. He's one of my favorite players in these playoffs. But heading into the second quarter, that's when Jaden McDaniels was getting hot for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think he was 5 for 5 at that point, making three threes and getting to the basket and finishing over some defenders. And I was saying to myself that they have to put somebody on him because if you don't guard him, he can definitely go off. Now, I don't believe Jaden McDaniels can beat you, but if you give him the confidence to, it could certainly happen. So I was saying to myself that somebody needs to cover him, and Luka was not doing a good job because he was playing drop on him. And in that second quarter, he was going off, and then the Dallas Mavericks were having some tough offensive stretches. They had, I think they went like in 3 minutes. They went 3 minutes without even a field goal, and had like three straight empty possessions on the offensive side of the floor, and it was getting so difficult for them. But the Minnesota Timberwolves were just rolling at that point, and it seemed like nothing could stop them. But I think they I think Dallas was struggling in the second quarter because Kyrie started on the bench, and when he came in, he made things a lot easier for the Dallas Mavericks. He was making some shots, getting and ones, uh, you know, making some plays, off the pick and roll. And I need to say this about Minnesota. So they were they were playing drop coverage off the screen sometimes, and it was just easy for Luca, like I said in the first half, because he would just come off the screen and he'll put uh the drop defender, which was Rudy Gobert, he'll put him in a very, very tough situation to where he has to step up or just continue to drop and just give him that open floater. And sometimes they'll just blitz him and he'll just find the road guy, and the road guy will have a straight path to the basket. And we saw Daniel Gafford get a lot of dunks. We saw Derrick Jones Jr. get a lot of dunks. Even Derek Lively came off the bench and got a few dunks in. And that's when they made it a 3-point game heading into the second half. But in the second half, like I said, Luka Doncic took over for the Dallas Mavericks. Kyrie did his damage in the first, and Luka took over in the second half, and ultimately closed the game for them. I think he had like two mid range shots and had a three. He went on a 7-0 run by himself in that fourth, and that's when he started to get cooking. And at that point, it was nothing that Minnesota could have done to stop him. They put two on the ball sometimes, and he just made the right play, find the open man, and the open man would just roll to the basket. And like I said, they didn't really make a lot of threes. PJ Washington hit. I mean, he missed a lot of threes. I don't know why, because he was scorching hot against the Thunder. But in this game right here, he couldn't buy a three. Kyrie couldn't buy a three. But if you're a Minnesota Timberwolves fan, I don't think you should get discouraged. I mean, yeah, Dallas stole game one on the road, but um, I just think that Minnesota has to make a few adjustments defensively, and send the when you're blitzing, just make it smart. Don't just send a blitz out of nowhere. Don't just double team out of nowhere. And when you're playing drop coverage, you should know when and where to play the drop coverage at, because if you keep letting Luka Doncic into the lane, he's definitely going to make you pay for it. So that's that huge victory for the Dallas Mavericks. And like I said, game one on the road, big victory. Hopefully they can, if they keep this going, they could, potentially end this series in five. But I mean, I have Dallas in seven. That's my take. And yeah, obviously the Dallas Mavericks winning game one, that doesn't automatically mean that they're winning this series, but they're heading in the right direction. Um, Minnesota has to make a few tweaks, and that's it. And if you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, you shouldn't really be concerned about the threes, because they missed a lot of threes. They didn't really take as much as the Minnesota Timberwolves, but I believe that heading into game two, they'll definitely be a better 3-point shooting team, and they're not gonna go 6 for 25 from the three again in game two. So that's that. These are my thoughts on this game. Whatever you guys think, leave any comments, leave any thoughts right down below. Again, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure you hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. On to the next one. Peace.